K&A Custom Crafts on Facebook.
Hello and welcome to our second episode of C2C Rankum, brought to you by Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. I am Big B, and like always, well, hopefully always, I mean, we're only 2 shows in, but I'm joined by the Primus, Tim Hendricks. How you doing, bud?
Doing good. Good. Glad to be here for our second episode. Hopefully we can put this on for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. And just so people know that, yes, it's early morning, but we will replay it. So if you're watching the recap sometime during the week, please still comment, interact with us. We'll look at the comments. So just a little rundown if you didn't catch episode 1. We did some sports rankings. That's all we're doing. Each week is going to be a different topic. This week we did video games. We did the top, in our opinion, the top role-playing games, first-person the movie themes, and sport games. So, Tim, before we get started, when we brought the topic up, is there any games that like brought back memories for you?
A couple on my list that I got. Matter of fact, some I still kind of play a lot more. Some I wish I had a couple retro consoles so I could play some more. Or if I find a way to download an emulator, I can play a couple of the Nintendo games that I got on the list. So yeah, a couple of them have.
No, I remember, when we were hanging out, I mean, we'd pound out the Sega and football, baseball, wrestling. I mean, me and you, spent hours on the Sega. I know that for sure. So, but like you said, I wish I, go out and get one of those retro, Nintendo minis or something and, play some of the old school games and just relive the graphics. Cause I mean, the graphics now to then is just like 1,000 million times better than they were, but it's still cool to see the old graphics. So, all right. So with that being said, let's start off with some movie themed games. So, Tim, what do you have for your? Let's go top 5. What's your top 5 movie themed game?
I've got Uncharted.
Okay.
The games itself, the series itself was a good series. It was a great series, and I thought it was smart that they came out with a movie with Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg. But it's just a fun game. It's just a fun puzzle type action adventure game that I enjoyed.
Okay. For me, I was having a toss and turn. I'm going to go with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I enjoyed the game, of course. The movie series, even when they remade them, are still pretty good. But but it was a frustrating game because I think it was one of the first ones where I shouldn't say that because I think Double Dragon was the first one, but I think it was like the first one where it was like you could have 4 players all on the same screen. You had to wait for the person to catch up, and
right.
So it was more of a team game, but definitely a game. I definitely enjoyed playing. So Tim, what do we got for number 4?
I went with Tomb Raider.
Okay.
I think it was fun growing up and to see the game series and the movie series being rebooted like it has been in the last 10, 15 years. I think it needed the upgrade. The Tomb Raider series at the beginning was such ahead of its time. I think it was one of those games that put a female character first.
Exactly.
And I thought that was huge.
No, that definitely was huge. I think, like you said, I think it's one of the first. I mean, I guess unless you do like a princess game or something, but I think it was one of the first games that actually had a female main character, I guess is what you could say. So, for me, I'm gonna go with the classic Star Wars. I mean, iconic movie trilogies, series. The video games weren't too far off of that either. Didn't play them much, but I played some here and there. Due to the jobs I had working at video stores, we got to test some of the games and stuff like that. So didn't play on much, but it still was enjoyable. So, all right, Tim, who do you got for number 3?
My number 3 is Resident Evil.
Ooh.
It was it really brought home. It really started up the horror genre in the video games. It really brought the outside of Mortal Kombat. It really brought the blood, the gore. It really made it interesting to play, especially with the further and further and more they've gotten. The graphics have just gotten even better. The blood, the guts, the storytelling has gotten better, especially with the latest with Biohazard and Village. I think it's been great, and now if just the movie series can catch up to the games, I think we'd be even further along in this.
Yeah, for me now we're now getting to the top 3. I played quite a bit, on older consoles. Number 3, I'm going with Sonic. I know the movie's fresh and the game was back in the 90s and stuff, but I still think the game itself was good. I think the movies, I think they're going to make a third one. The first 2 have been phenomenal. So, but the Sonic games definitely were fun to play. A spin-off, I guess you could kind of say, of Mario in the game, the way you got to be able to warp into different levels and stuff. So, all right. So, what's your number 2?
This series is what got me really into the PlayStation 3. Was the Assassin's Creed series.
Ooh, okay.
To me, it's a great. I think it's a great series. It really delves deep into the past, into world history, and how those things really link in. Granted, it's within dealing with the Illuminati, the assassins, and the Knights Templar, but it gets you a chance to deal really deep into the history. This year, for my birthday, I got a chance to go to Florence, which is basically the setting for Assassin's Creed 3, and to basically walk into some of the places that they had in the games was amazing. If the movie if they could actually make a movie series that works well with this set. The first movie was okay. I think they need to reboot, but I definitely loved Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed really got me hardcore into the PlayStation 3. I don't think if it weren't for Assassin's Creed, I don't think I would have bought a PlayStation 3.
Yeah, it's funny, you speak that game got you in there. I mean, that's I've heard that a lot with Xbox fans and PS, Sony fans. Well, this game got me to the system. I used to play this, but this system didn't make it, so I started playing it on this system. So heard that a lot. For me, actually, my top 2 I think are iconic for movie themed. They're the ones that brought the movie themed games in, or the movie themed games into reckoning. Number 2 is Mortal Kombat. I think great one-on-one battles. I think they kind of branched out. I haven't really played them recently if they're still making them, but you always
they're still making them. They're still making
they are?
them.
Okay. So Mortal Kombat, you always get a group of guys and everybody thinks they can beat everybody. They got that one special character they always use. Back in the day, if you figured out 2 moves and nobody could stop it, you're unstoppable. So that was my number 2. So Tim, what's your number 1?
My number 1. You brought it up, I think, at number 3. And I'm pretty specific because this game, I don't know how many hours I put on this series I put on, but Lego Star Wars.
I brought Star Wars in general.
Yeah.
So.
But I played the Lego Star Wars, and it was unbelievable how you could. It rewrote the movies. It basically did everything it could for what it did, and made the movies and brought it down into the Legos and into everything, and made everything. It was cute, but it was fun. But then Star Wars started adding their own. They had their own on Xbox where they had their own. They had Knights of the Old Republic, where a lot of people where they started making some of the stuff in that canon into Star Wars now. But Lego Star Wars to me was anything based off that any of the movies I think Lego Star Wars did was unbelievable.
Okay. For me, kind of like Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, another game that, you got your buddies together, thought they, could beat you, and you try to get those two moves, but they started expanding. I think Mortal Kombat Street Fighter came out with the game together. So, but with that being said, Tim, what are a few games that you left off the list? Yeah, I had a hard time putting in there.
It was you. I was thinking along the lines of stuff like Max Payne.
Yep.
Max Payne was tough not to put on there. Doom was a little tough to put on there. It's a lot of the Silent Hill.
Yep.
I think Mortal Kombat to me, I wanted to put it on there, but I think what hurt it the most was the fact is the movies kind of weren't. They didn't age kind of all that well.
Yep.
But there's plenty out there, and people out there, our listeners will say you're wrong. No, we get that. I understand. I completely understand. But the 5 games that I picked were the 5 games that I played the most.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. Like I said, the top 3 I played quite a bit. The other ones, I mean, I guess I played the Turtles quite a bit, but yeah, for me, I mean, you still have the Simpsons. You could put out there. I think they only had one really good game. The movie was okay. Like you said, Max Payne. I know there was a few other games I'm missing. Doom, and actually, some of these games are probably going to show up on our other list because of how they were made. I mean, you got the Bonds movies in games, GoldenEye and stuff like that. So, but like you said, and last week, I think we were 3 for 4 in having our top ones together. So I think this week we're going to be a little bit different, I think. So, which is really nice. So let's go into the role-playing games. Tim, what do you got for your number 5?
I got the Far Cry series.
Okay.
I started playing Far Cry with Far Cry 3. It just got better except for Primal, but everything they started getting to the point where they were starting to get all-star casts to do all their voiceover stuff, but the game was just fun. It just open world, you could do whatever you wanted, your choices mattered, your choices made a difference, and to me Far Cry was just a lot of fun.
Okay, yeah, this category was hard for me because I really wasn't into the role playing game, so I kind of I played some of them, but I kind of did some research to see where other websites people had them ranked. So I'm gonna go Fallout. Again, I don't know much about it. I think I might have played it a little bit just because of the video store I worked at, but that was my number 5. So Tim, what's your number 4?
Now I'm going to say this, and people are going to go, Tim, you're a big guy. You don't look like you should be playing this series. But my brother got me into this, which makes it even worse. But the Kingdom Hearts series.
Okay.
Kingdom Hearts was just fun. Everybody. I remember sitting there saying, when everybody asked me, what are you playing? And they said, we'd always say Kingdom Hearts. And they're always like, isn't that a Disney game? Yeah, it was a Disney game, but so fun. If you went to see Aladdin, you went to all these different places that happened in Disney games, but it was done by Square Enix, and I think I had been waiting 10, 15 years for Kingdom Hearts 3 to come out. So, but it was just a fun game.
Yeah, no, that's the one thing is, it's fun. like we said at the beginning, even some of the old school games are still fun. It's like, why do you play that when you can play it here? It's like that, not the same. So, for me, I know it was a craze a couple years ago. Came back, I never really caught the Pokemon craze, but I got Pokemon at number 4. Role playing. Some probably doesn't consider it that way, but you know, you got it. You go through little journeys and stuff, get your Pokemon battle. And then when it came back as Pokemon Go, people were out walking around, got people stopping on track in traffic areas to try to get a Pokemon. It's like, really, knocking on neighbor's door. Hey, can I come in your house because there's a Pokemon there? It's just like, really, so it's still, I still don't understand the craze, but there's a lot of people out there, a lot of followers. Maybe some of our viewers will, so maybe they can kind of explain it a little bit. But so, what is your number 3?
Before we get to the number 3, I didn't play any of the Pokemon, but I did play Pokemon Go. I wasn't to the point where we were not. I was knocking on doors if I can go through their backyard. I wasn't stopping in traffic. But it was weird because I was working for a Pizza Hut in Florida at the time when I started playing, and they wanted the Pizza Hut, the franchise that I worked at, wanted to know how they could contact people that worked for Pokemon to find a way that they could get a Pokemon into the Pizza Hut and give them a discount.
Nice.
And I thought, and I'm like, I couldn't tell you, and it never amounted to anything. But I'm thinking that
would have been one heck of a
ad idea. That's a pretty cool idea.
That would have been a definitely cool idea. That would have been.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to number 3.
My number 3. I still play this game today. This game, I can honestly say I've got at least a couple thousand hours on. Just because it's open world, but it's as soon as you finish the main game, you continue on. It's Skyrim.
Okay.
It's right now, I started playing on a PS3. I'm on with it, the PS4, and they've just added it on next gen for the PS5. I think it's one of 3 games that have made 3 generations, that and Grand Theft Auto, and I want to say Fortnite, but I might be wrong on that.
Okay.
But it's a lot. To me, it's an absolute amount of fun. And now that Bethesda, the maker of the game, has allowed modding, it makes the game even further. Like I said, I play this game still. I probably played it on Saturday.
All right, for me, number 3, and for some reason, I thought this game was called something different, so I had a hard time looking it up to kind of get some notes on there. All I could remember was the main character's name was Snake. That's all I could. I remember it because Metal Gear Solid. Yeah, Metal Gear Solid. And the one thing I liked about it is, before you actually got into the game, what I recall is you had to go through like little training things on how, stuff to use, okay, go hide in the corner, knock on something so they turn around and then you can go after them, or crouch down so they can't see you, try to stay out of the spotlights and stuff like that. So that was one thing I got. Didn't really dive into it too hard because, for me, I don't know if my attention span when it comes to games like this just stay there, but I like a game where, okay, I know it's going to last me this long. I could turn it off after, but some of these missions, you had to do the mission before you could save it, especially back in the day. Now it might be a little bit different, but, I just remember it was just like it got boring after a while. So, all right. So, what's your number 2 game?
My number 2 game is your number 5 game.
Okay.
Right? The Fallout series. That was one of those games that I bought day one. I bought Fallout 3 day one. I remember buying it going, oh, okay, that's great. My brother looked at it, goes, yeah, that could be fun. And then I'm like, okay, I got 20 minutes into Fallout 3 and went, I can't play this game. Honestly, I cannot play this game. my brother come over one night and says, "Hey, can I play Fallout 3 if you're not going to play it?" Yeah. Take it. A week later, he comes back and tells me that is the best game I've ever played. And I looked at him and going, "Did we play the same game?" and he says, "You didn't get far enough into it." And I'm like, "Okay." And I remember playing Fallout 3, and I went, yeah, I don't know how I missed this. And then Fallout New Vegas came out, and then with everything, and it just kept getting better. Fallout 4 came out, and it was fun. And like you said, you don't know much about Fallout.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know who are watching, Fallout takes place supposedly in our future,
Okay.
and before everything starts, and people get you buy your spot in a nuclear fallout shelter, and since named Fallout, and you go to these different places. They're called vaults, and then after a while, you get let out of these vaults, and then you go out into the post-apocalyptic world, and there's basically nothing there. You're what they call the wanderer, and you go around and you try to do things. You do all these missions, and you go out and you go do everything that you can. And it to me, it's a lot of fun. I want to say the third one took place in, I can't remember the third one. The third one I think took place in Washington D.C. The
Okay.
fourth one, again, like not the fourth one, but New Vegas takes place in Las Vegas. Fallout 4 takes place in the Boston, Massachusetts area.
Okay.
And and it's gotten better, especially if you started playing these games online. If you're not online, but if you're on the PC, you can start modding out. And I think the one thing that helped a lot of these games, a lot of these RPGs that you can put on the PC, you can mod, so you can start doing different things. Like what they did was with Fallout 4. I believe they went to Fallout. They made Fallout Miami, which means they made a whole story that takes place in the Miami area. And then they've done Fallout London. They've done different places, and you can mod into your games, especially if you have it on the PC. Granted, I would hope you have a pretty powerful PC to handle everything that's put out. And then they came out just before I came here back in 2018. They made Fallout 76. They made a online multiple. It's what they call an MMOPG, a massive multi-person online. But it's a Fallout game that you play online, and it's a role-playing game just like this. The Fallout series is fun. Again, I don't think it's pretty much a broken record when you say these games are fun, but it's stressful, but it's the fun stressful.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we need some. We don't need stress. We can use some fun stress. So, all right, let's get into our number 2 games, Tim.
That was my number 2 game.
That was your number 2 game. Oh, okay, yeah. I can't count. For me, I know I own at least one copy of this. I think for the original PlayStation. Again, another game that I got into a little bit. If I was really bored, got to play it. But again, it's one of those games where you can't just turn it off, because then you'd probably have to start back at the beginning. Was Final Fantasy, the series from the original to Nintendo all the way to now, still one of the best. I mean, the graphics are getting better, which is getting more in depth, and kind of like what you said with Fallout. You can play online with other people too, I believe, and that just brings a whole nother aspect to the game. So number 1, Tim.
I was absolutely shocked when you said Fallout, because my number 1 was Fallout. I'm shocked that you said Final Fantasy was your number 2, because Final Fantasy 7 is my number 1. I don't buy a PlayStation if it's not for Final Fantasy. I don't buy a PlayStation 1 if it wasn't for Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that's the one game I owned was Final Fantasy 7.
And it's amazing when you see what Final Fantasy 7 did. Final Fantasy, they've many different outlets have come out and said Final Fantasy 7 is the resurgence of video games. Yep. If it weren't for Final Fantasy 7, we're not talking PlayStation 4. We're not talking Xbox Series S. We're not talking anything between here and there. The moment somebody handed me Final Fantasy VII, I said I wasn't a role playing game guy until Final Fantasy VII, and Final Fantasy VII is what they consider the greatest twist in video game history. Is when you lose Aeris, when you lose Cloud's
Yeah.
you lose Cloud's love interest before the end of disc 1, and there's 4 discs for Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
VII.
didn't they come into a case like this big?
Yeah,
It
it
was
was
like 4 discs.
huge. It was
Yeah.
huge, and it was. I'll be honest. I sold my copy when I sold my copy when I lived in Florida. Somebody had asked me how much I would part for my Final Fantasy VII. I said I would do nothing less than 100.
Yeah.
The guy gave me 100. The guy gave me $175 for it because I had an error copy of Final Fantasy VII.
Okay.
And if you go, and the funny thing is, if you want to look up online right now on eBay for Final Fantasy VII, every other game in the world is like $5-10. Final Fantasy VII could range anywhere between $75 to $300 to $1,000.
Yep. Okay. For me, my number one, and if I had to call a game a GOAT, because I think this is the one that really started the role playing games, Zelda. I think back in the Nintendo days, yeah, it was sketchy graphics and stuff, but I think once it started revolving, I think got better. I mean, it wasn't a game I spent too much time on, but I played it here and there because buddies had it and stuff. But definitely Zelda was one that when we first brought up this category, it was the first game I thought of. So, Tim, other games that you kind of held out?
The one that I'm maybe kicking myself for holding out is probably the one they consider the best Star Wars game in history, and that's Knights of the Old Republic. The Knights of the Old Republic was the first game they came out with that was a role-playing game that was in Star Wars, but your decisions.
All right, I have a little technical.
If you were going to be on the light side, if you were going to be on the dark side.
Yeah, a lot of those games. You're here. You're cutting in and out. So we'll make it work. Yeah, games like that where if you go one way or another way, I remember everybody talked about that Star Wars game where, do I choose the dark side? Do I choose the other side? And then of course, once you finish it, you go back and you flop the other side to, so it's almost 2 games in one.
Oh yeah.
For me, World of Warcraft came out. I thought that was a game that, that probably could have made, but again, for me, role-playing game wasn't my forte, so I kind of just based on a lot of research. But there was other games that came up on lists that's like, really, you consider that role-playing, consider first person, stuff like that. So some of these games could have been on both lists. And speaking of that, our next list is our next list is first person, shooters or first pro, however you want to, describe it. So, what is your first game there? Number 5, Tim.
I've got Splitgate. I think Splitgate came up for the PS4 this year. To me, I think it was a lot of fun. I'm not a first-person shooter fan. No. I got to be. I just couldn't for some reason. For the longest time, I couldn't figure out a way to shoot in first person. I could have been a third-person shooter and it was fine. I could play all day, but I got in Splitgate is like a little bit like Fortnite, but not. I had a lot of fun playing Splitgate, and it also got me a chance to play a little bit with my stepson, and Splitgate to me just was fun. Again, these games that are on my list are just that. They're fun. And this
Yeah.
was one of them.
Yeah, and I think especially for first person, I think definitely the online action and being able to play with the whole group of people from throughout the world, I think really puts an aspect to a lot of these games. For me, Metal Gear Honor, the war game, I thought was pretty cool. You got to, be part of the military, or I think they had different versions of it, but just to get out there and like you said, it was a lot easier in third person when you can see everything, but when you're actually that person and the screen is just you and you're trying to look around and see what's going on, it's just like, okay, this is cool, but it's kind of annoying and it's kind of hard to get, um so moving on, number 4, Tim.
Yeah.
Uh
This could have got this. My next one could the movie one, the one they call the quintessential.
okay.
The I've got the one that everybody says is the unbelievable first person shooter, but GoldenEye.
Okay. Yeah, that it's on my list, a little bit higher up, but for me, my number 4, Call of Duty, another game. I spent some time playing. I think my uncle had it, so we played it back and forth a little bit. So, number 3, what do you got for number 3?
I've got the original first person shooter where you actually needed a gun. Where you needed the gun. I've got Duck Hunt.
Oh wow! Oh, going old school on that one. Okay, I liked it. I guess I wasn't really, I was first person, but no, I like your number 3 there.
I hated that game unless I was 3 inches from the TV.
Oh
But
yeah,
my brother. Oh Lord! But it was to me when I thought of first person shooter, I thought of Duck Hunt. I just did.
Honestly, I'm gonna lie. I didn't even think of that as a first-person shooter game, but yeah, it was a frustrating game unless you're sitting 3 inches away from the dang screen. It's like you couldn't get nowhere, you know. And then that little dog would pop up and go, and pop back down. How much really wanted to shoot the dog,
Shoot the
And
dog.
before anybody gets on the street, we're not, saying any violence against pets is right. I mean, it's a video game, but you get that dog up there, 3 straight times laughing at you. I mean, yes, you want to, So, but for me, where are we at here? Number 3, I do the Grand Theft Auto. I it might not be the typical first person game, but you had to be that one guy and had to go through do different missions and plus you got to, if you didn't want to do a mission, you could go off and do something else, kind of wreck things and stuff like that. So, I thought that was a pretty cool game. Your number 2, Tim.
My number 2, I have Wolfenstein. Wolfenstein,
Okay.
when your dad will sit there and play and shoot Nazis and yell at the Nazis and shoot and kill and everything's a first person shooter, and my dad is just yelling at the computer because he played it on the computer, and my brother and I would watch and to watch that, and that was it was just fun to see and to play it. It was like who didn't when that game came out, who didn't want to kill Nazis? I do. Yeah, no. But yeah, to me, Wolfenstein was definitely one of the epitomes of first person shooters.
Okay. Tim Fielder, sorry, just chiming in. Someone didn't lose his Uzi, so I think it's kind of making fun of you or making fun of maybe trying to do a pun there with the Uzi and the and I don't know. So welcome, Tim.
I'm always Uzi.
For me, is the game that you referenced to, which me and my brother played quite a bit, and I could not stand it because he knew all the ins and outs because he lived on this game, and that's GoldenEye. Um, I think honestly, this was probably one of the first person ones that you could have a split screen, and then you could go into 4 players and stuff like that. So this game definitely would have worked. I think back in the day, if they had online play, I think this game would have just blown all the other games out of the water. But yeah, it was frustrating to play my brother because he knew all the ins and outs. He knew where all the secret little compartment was. He's like, "Hey, I'm over in this room." I walk in, don't see him, and then I'm dead.
Yeah.
So let's get into number 1, Tim.
You actually have it on your list too. I've got Call of Duty.
Okay.
I didn't play a lot of the older versions, but I did when they started coming out with Modern Warfare and Black Ops, and Ghosts. I really got into it because I started playing. This is one of those because I think I got a lot more memories in this game because I played with my brother online a lot,
Yeah.
and it's those games were just a lot of fun. Those online games were so much fun, and it was just interesting.
Yeah. And that's the one thing that, playing online and playing with people, like you said, playing with your brother who's in a different state or whatever, it's fun. But again, everybody's staying inside now. You're not getting much outside activity. For me, another game that I think could have been good with online access back in the day, and kind of like Zelda might be the goat of this this goat of topic, Doom. I think Doom was another stressful game. I don't think I completed half of the game because I just got frustrated with it. But I think it's one of the original first-person shooter games. So, with that being said, Tim, a couple games that you left off the list.
Doom,
Yeah.
without a question. Doom was actually online. You could play Doom online when it first came out.
Okay.
It was tough. It was really tough, but you could do it. Doom to me was tough. I could have said any of the Far Cries. Any of the Far Cries could have been because they're all done in first person shooter, but to me it's Doom you could flip flop Doom and Wolfenstein because they both look like they were the same thing, except one was set in World War II and the other one was set in the future. But Doom came out first, so Doom.
Yeah, for me, just because I had it on my role playing list, and it could have been on this list, is Metal Gear Solid. I think that definitely could have been on both lists, high up there, but I had it on one list. I did think it was right to put on both. Again, wasn't a big fan of first person, so I probably, everybody's probably like, "Oh, your list is really out there." It's just like, yeah, I get it. A few of those games I played, and some I didn't. So, all right, so let's get into bread and butter. I think I know you have. I know I have. Spent many hours playing different sport games. So let's get into our top five sport games, Tim. So let's go with number 5. Sorry, we're having some
I
tech.
went old school.
Oh, there you
I went
go.
old school
All right.
because I played this game. Okay.
Yep.
I went old school because I played this. Ryan and I played this game like it was going out of style, and we played it as if it were like an Olympic round robin. So we played this when it was so much fun. But I put Blades of Steel as number 5 as my number 5 pick.
Ooh. Oh, I thought you were gonna go a different route. I thought maybe we might have had the same number 5. Blades of Steel was fun. Yeah, and it was only like 8 teams. I think it was
Yeah,
the original.
They were 8 different countries, and
That's what it was.
And we always played it. Yeah, but yeah, it was fun. A lot of fun.
Yeah. For me, I went old school too, and I'm going back. to the original track and field when they had the big pad and you actually had to get up and do stuff. And again, if you wanted to mess with people, you would always put your hand on the back two pad buttons because they couldn't do nothing. Or if you got on your knees and you're pounding the heck out of the pads as fast as you can. But the original track and field got to be up there. All right, Tim. What's your number 4?
I went with one that it came out for the consoles, but the better version of this game came out in the arcade, and I went with NBA Jam.
Oh, yeah, the arcade version was definitely way better. Did you ever finish?
The arcade edition was like the GOAT.
Yeah. Did you ever?
The arcade edition of that was just so.
Yeah. Did you ever get the chance to beat all 32 teams, or at the time I think it might have been 30? Yeah.
Might have been.
Every time I got close, it seemed like they reset the system or they moved the game every time I played on the arcade versions. For me, number 4, just because of how popular he was, kind of got me into the sport, golf. I'm going with Tiger Woods. Just, it was good to get out there and, try to beat him. Got you to play around the world. Yeah, video games. It's not like playing the real golf. I get it, but it was fun playing it. Didn't have to walk it, so you got to be able to play 18 holes in an hour or 2, or maybe less than that. All right, so Tim, let's get into our number 3 game.
Did you ever get it? I played Tiger Woods golf, and I loved it. Were you ever able to hit a hole in one?
I'm trying to think. No, I don't think I ever did. I think I've come close. I think I've hit the pin quite a bit of times, but I think never been able to sink one.
I hit 5.
Nice.
It was one of those games where everything it was. I was so afraid that I was going to outdrive the green on a par 4. Every time you ever sit there and you soup it and everything got up and wrapped up, I'll drive the par. My number 3 is probably I've got Madden series at number 3.
Yeah, which one you cut off there? Which one?
Well, if it isn't for my number 1, we're not playing football.
Oh, you got
Madden series.
3? Okay.
I got Madden at number 3. You'll understand why I've got Madden. I've got it number 1.
Okay, no problem. For me, number 3, I got the WWE games. I got the whole series because they were fun. They always had different niches, the career mode, the storylines, build a faction, build a creator, creature mode. Now, now they're getting into more of the GM side of things. I think they could go back and kind of tie in some of their older features into the newer games, but growing up a wrestling fan, gotta have it on my top 5. So all right, Tim, so let's get into number 3 or 2.
I'm with this game like I 94 specifically NHL 94 fielder with the people games, and I love playing. It was one of the first games you get into it was so popular that when NHL came out, they came out with an updated version, with the 2022 roster, with the 2021 rosters on it. That game was so much fun. It was the first game where I think you could fight, where you could actually drop the gloves and fight in a hockey game.
What year was that?
It was I think it was 94. I'm not sure.
Okay.
94.
I think you're right. When they used to go up and down on the screen.
No, they went left and right. It
Oh,
was
they
one
went
of the
left and
first
right on
times they
that
went
one?
left and right. And
Okay.
yeah, but it was funny because it's the only time I think I've ever had a game where Mario Lemieux and Wayne Gretzky got into a fight and got him and both got a game misconduct. You'll
Yeah.
never see that in the NHL. And
Yeah.
that game was that game of all.
For me, number 2, again, I'm going with the whole series because I think it's one of the best franchises, and that's MLB The Show. Just they keep doing the same thing, but they keep advancing it. Now being able to create a player, put you on the roster. Then they bring in, okay, you got to go through the minor leagues, and then it's like, okay, now you're gonna try out. You're gonna play the 3 or 4 games of preseason draft ball, and then you get drafted. So stuff like that. The one thing I wish MLB did that Madden does is let you relocate teams or create new teams or stuff like that. You're more control of the team, So
So you're
Tim,
so you're saying you want to move. So you're saying you want to move Oakland to Las Vegas? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, exactly. So Tim, you got me intrigued because you had Madden at number 3. So what do you got? Number 1.
I've got number 1 because I've got Madden number 3 because Tecmo Bowl needs to be number
Ooh.
1.
Oh, yeah, that.
There is no Madden unless there's Tecmo Bowl. And we had a rule in our house: if you're going to play Tecmo Bowl, you don't take the Raiders. If you don't take the
Why?
Raiders, you don't get Marcus and you don't get Bowden. But
Yeah,
that game
go ahead.
at the time was thing. But that game at the time was everything. Absolutely everything.
Yep, I remember playing Tecmo Bowl. Like you said, the original Tecmo Bowl, Bo Jackson was unstoppable. You could be at the 1 and you could run around the field, waste the clock, and so the original Tecmo Bowl was fun, but when they actually started keeping stats and had the injuries, and then they moved into trades, like you said, that I give you that. I did think about that. Because I have Madden / NCAA football on there because I think when they incorporated NCAA football into the Madden, where you can play 4 years of college and then you could download it and import it into the Madden game so you can be drafted. That really took Madden off. The sky's the limit. The GM mode, the creative mode, the move the teams. Me and my friends used to take one team, we move them. He put one in Alaska, I put one in Mexico. Now you can go overseas, you can put them in London stuff. So, stuff like that. And the one Madden game that I really enjoyed was the year. Well, there's 2 of them. It might be the same game. I can't remember. But the year that Houston came into the league, then you got to do the expansion draft with them. So that was kind of cool. And then one thing I wish Madden would get back to is the precision passing. When you roll out with the quarterback, you could hit your arrow, the receiver could break his route and go back. I was killer on that. I liked that mode, and then they took it away. The one game I will tie into this is I want to say it was called Madden NFL coach or head coach or something, where you actually were the head coach, you created plays and stuff like that. Yeah. And that's one thing I liked. And Madden did it for 1 year and they spun off the game, was where you got to create your own plays, got to create your own playbook and stuff like that. I wish Madden would bring that back. I think that was really fun. So some games that you left off, Tim, that were tough to put on there, because I got tons.
MLB The Show is tough.
Yeah.
I play MLB The Show. NC football was tough, absolutely tough, because I remember I found ways where I could download college rosters onto NCAA, so I could have in 2012 you could have Tebow, you could have everybody on the rosters
except the name or numbers.
that game was so, yeah, it was just the numbers, and then they added the names, and that was what other one was difficult for me to hold off. There was one other one specifically that was tough for me to hold off. There was a track and field game that came out before the one you were talking about.
Yeah, I think I know which one you're talking about. I don't know if it was called track and field. I think it was called something else, but I could be wrong. So Tim's having a little technical issues, it looks like today. So you back with us, Tim?
I'm hoping I'm back.
Yeah, you're there. Just a little delay on your end.
Maybe not.
No, you're here. So for me, like I said, there's plenty of games I left off. It was hard. The hockey ones, definitely, Blades of Steel, Double Dribble, another game, where, one of the first basketball games. The Bo Jackson game, I think it was where you got to play football or baseball, was on there. I know me and you, I think it was World Series of Baseball that me and you mashed hours on, was a tough one. Sport Talk for the Sega games, all those games. I had a really hard time leaving off my favorite baseball game, and that was Bases Loaded. Because, again, it was one of those things where I found the right pitcher, found the right sequence of pitches, and I was untouchable. I have plenty of games where I struck out 27, had no hitters left and right. You always had to have the pass code on there, or the password to move on. You always had to save it that way. A game you brought up earlier, like you said, Final Fantasy VII, was a game that nowadays goes for quite a bit of money. I remember back in the day, Baseball Stars, I think, was a game that went for quite a bit of money. I don't know how it's doing now, but it was hard to find. So people, if you saw it, it was always like triple the value of old Nintendo games, and that was another game I left off. One thing I'm glad games don't do now is have little cheat codes. I think Nintendo had like the Game Shark. You could pop your game in there and be able to type in the code, and you get to the last level, or Mike Tyson's Punch Out, you got the code to go against Tyson and stuff like that. So I'm glad they kind of got rid of that a little bit. I mean, it was fun at times, but but with that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed our list. Like I said, if you see this on replay, please comment. We are expecting people to disagree with us, because that's what everybody does, and every list is different, and it's always fun to hear everybody's different lists. This week, me and Tim did not nail one top one. I mean, we had some of the same games, but just not being oozy this week, I guess, is what we'll call it. So, Tim, any final thoughts as we close out the show?
Don't be afraid to give us a suggestion. We're gonna run out of ideas eventually. We please suggest something. Suggest maybe or everybody. I'm coming at 1 o'clock Eastern time, 6 o'clock Italian, 5 o'clock Italian time for Sunday morning tailgate. But keep watching everybody else's shows. Everybody else has got amazing shows, and keep watching.
Yeah, exactly. Just keep watching C2C. Like Tim said, throw out ideas there. What kind of list do you want us to break down, make up? I mean, we got ideas too. Next week we're going to do some kind of movies. We haven't worked out the deals, but next week will be a movie themed show. After that, we might do food. We might do favorite tennis shoes. Favorite Lego pieces. I mean, sky's the limit. Favorite toys. So we got ideas. Definitely want to hear what you guys have. So again, if you're watching this on replay, keep checking us out. Tonight is Tuesday, so we got On Deck's final episode to close out the MLB season. We got Tuesday Night Mania. Wednesdays, we got Bo and Joe Show. We got Sports Minute. Thursdays, we got OVW Wrestling. We got Creeping It Real. And like Tim said, Sunday morning tailgate, you'll see myself and Tim with his popular Prime 5, myself with the always flopping of the Big Baller pick. So with that being said, check us out next Tuesday on C2C Rinkum. Have a good week.